Hey, it's Sam Fikel from Evergreen Home Loans. In this video, I'm going to be going over what the home buying process looks like after you go under contract. And so to help me out, I've got a list of a table of contents for you to follow along with. So let's get started. Each week from now on, I'm going to be sending you a weekly file update. I'm also going to be sending a condensed version to the real estate agents involved in the transaction as well. It's going to outline any kind of new developments in the loan, any items needed. So please pay attention to that part because that's where I'm going to communicate with you that I'm going to need some things. And there's also a timeline at the bottom where you can see where we're at in the process and what needs to happen next. Speaking of timeline, let's talk about that real quick. There's a couple things that you need to do, and there's a couple things that I need to do. Within a couple days of going under contract, you're going to need to drop off some earnest money at the title company. Earnest money is a good faith promise to the seller that you're serious about the transaction, and the best way to keep that money in the safe place is with a neutral third party like the title company. Also, I'm going to be needing proof of withdrawal of that earnest money funds. I can get a copy of the check at the title company, but I'm going to need to see that money coming out of your account. So either a bank statement when it's next published or a transaction history from walking into your bank. If you do that, make sure you get a stamp and a signature from the teller and make sure that the transactions overlap with your last statement that we have. Afterwards, most likely you'll have an inspection completed. While it's not always required, depending on the loan type, it's always recommended to have an inspection because a professional will go into the property and spend a couple hours there analyzing everything and providing you with a report so you can get to know the property that you're about to purchase. On my end, I'm going to be ordering the appraisal and getting the file ready for underwriting. Keep in mind that the appraiser is different from the inspector. While they both have inspections that they perform on the property, the appraiser is hired by the lender, but the inspector is hired by you. The appraiser's job is to attach a value to the property to make sure that the lender is making a safe investment, and they also make sure that the property complies with lending requirements. On top of that, I'm getting the file ready for underwriting, and if you didn't know what an underwriter does, they work for the lender to make sure that the lender is making a safe investment. This includes not just making sure that you can afford your payments, but also to make sure that the loan complies with agency requirements because FHA, VA, USDA, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, jumbo loan lenders, they all have different requirements. And so in order to sell the loan to them so we can originate more loans in the future, or to make sure that the loan is insured by them, we need to make sure that these loans follow their guidelines. To make sure that that is a seamless process, I have two processors on my team that help get the file ready for underwriting with me. Their names are Robin or Annika, and they may or may not reach out to you if I'm busy, so don't be surprised if somebody besides me ever reaches out asking for documents. After this is what I like to call the dead zone. While we're waiting for underwriting to come back and while we're waiting for that appraisal report to be published, there really isn't much going on. We've already submitted all the documents that we needed to. Now we're just basically at the mercy of turn times. And so I try to reach out at least once a week and say hi. I'll send out those weekly updates still with probably not much difference to them. But otherwise, there's going to be a lot of flurry of activity at the beginning of the process, but don't be surprised when that slows down a couple weeks in. Once underwriting finishes their initial review, they'll come back with potentially a list of items that they might need. And so the processor and I will work with you to get those documents. And once the appraisal is in and the title report and all of those conditions and everything, then we'll resubmit to underwriting in hopes of final approval, also known as clear to close. This is the lender's commitment to lend. We just need to get the documents, the lending documents, over to the escrow company so that way they can prepare those documents for you to sign. Once those signatures are complete, then we will work on funding the loan probably the following day. After the loan funds, the title company will record the sale with the county, and after that is when you can get your keys. And lastly, while I've got your attention, there's a couple things that you got to make sure you don't do during the home loan process. I call this my list of don'ts. While we're going through the purchase process, the underwriters are reviewing things as they are when the file is submitted. So if things change, we'll probably have to resubmit through underwriting, redraw documents, and it can cause a whole flurry of messes if any of these things happen. So here's what we need to make sure you don't do while you're in the home buying process. First, don't leave your job, or don't give any indication that you're leaving your job. We will re-verify income within a couple days of closing. Next, don't spend your cash to close. I know it seems obvious, but you do need that cash to close at the end of the process, so don't spend it. Don't make any large deposits that can't be sourced with documentation. Your regular paychecks, gift funds, sales of an asset, withdrawals from a 401k or retirement account, those are all fine because we can get documentation for those. Don't make any large cash deposits though, because that might raise some red flags in the eyes of an underwriter. Keep in mind that we do a soft pull at the end of the process to make sure that there's no new line of credit or increased balances on credit cards or anything like that, because if we have to add something to your debt to income ratio, it can mess with your ability to qualify for the loan. And if it increases your debt to income ratio too much, we might have to run it through underwriting, which might cause us to close late and cause all kinds of issues all over the place. I understand that things happen, and asking you to not spend your cash to close and run up your credit cards in a difficult financial situation might be really tough. So please, if you have to do any of these, or you're considering doing any of them, make sure you talk to me so I can guide you through how to get through this situation, get through these temporary circumstances, while also making sure that you keep your house and keep yourself from not qualifying anymore. And that's it for right now. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to making this purchase happen for you.